Okay, Devin Walsh is a fucking alcoholic.
Stuff right now. Go ahead. We are live.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to Rolling with Sisyphus. Our guest tonight is Justin Smith, creator of Gulf City.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks a lot for having me on tonight. Appreciate you, Doc, Sisyphus. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, we are super stoked because you are what we all want to be. You've been knocked down, you've been thrown around, and you've told everybody, fuck you, I'm going to keep on keeping on. So I kind of
you might be overselling me a little bit, but I certainly appreciate it, guys. Thank you, man.
That's what we like to do here. We like to make our guests feel great.
Sell it big. Hell yeah, sell it big, man. That's right. Shawn Michaels style. Just put it on the discount rack, man. Sell the fuck out of it.
So
we want the early crowd pop.
So let's go ahead and just start off. I'm gonna start, and then Doc can start, and then you can go ahead and finish it up. I'm gonna go ahead and name everything I know you're involved with, and then Doc can go ahead and, because I know he's way above my status on this idea. I'm new to you from the Kumites, where I actually heard from you.
Word. And, love to the Kumite.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, that's
much
where I
in the failure.
That's where I've heard from you. And so I'm gonna go ahead and go Gulf City Streaming, Gulf City Cartoons, Gulf City Gulag, and then Fright Supremacy. Those are the four things that I know you were a main player in.
Correct.
And go ahead, Doc. Let's go ahead. I know you know more.
Well, and then again, we're talking about the channels that got crushed out. And we'll talk about a little bit about that fight later on, but
sure.
I got introduced to you with Free Press of Kekistan.
That's correct.
Which I'm currently subscribed to.
Well, now no longer the Free Press of Kekistan. Now the Free Press of Gulf City.
Yep.
As you may have noticed.
Yep. You guys took it over a few. I want to say over a month ago.
Some months back, yeah. I'm one of the owners of that channel. That's been several months. You know, when you do stuff like that, you don't want to immediately just completely turn over everything that channel has done. You don't want to disenfranchise everybody that's there. So it's been kind of a slow progression over time of making some changes on that channel, and we've got some big ideas of stuff coming up that I think we'll be able to do on there. It'll be cool. And I see a couple people in the chat that said they saw me on Free Press first. That is most appreciated. And if the mighty Free Press is in the chat, see, man, it works.
Yeah, he's in. So and he gave a hashtag whale gang. So we definitely have to do all hail blue whale. Take a shot.
That's my boy. That's my boy, Free Press. He's been a big part of a lot of stuff that's happened in the last several months.
And that actually is where the first time I seen you but I did not know it. You know, I did not know that Ghastly was. Yeah, that was the first time I was experienced with you. I subbed, but yeah, free press for sure.
Hell yeah, appreciate you, free press.
And of course, you've had a lot of trials and tribulations dealing with channel strikes, getting knocked down. Because I think, what is it, all told, you had 7 channels?
It's something like that. Even as it stands now, from the back end, I have about 12 or 14 YouTube channels. We use about 6. There are a few that are basically on the bench right now because they're struck, but they will heal eventually. And there are some that are just fucking gone. So an important part to being able to stay alive on YouTube with everything that we've dealt with over the last several months is having that preparation in order. And luckily I was able to do that through my studio before I closed my studio when we first kind of started on this, because you need a bunch of phone numbers to verify a bunch of fucking YouTube channels. And luckily I had, you know, an extra 6 or 8 at my disposal. So I was able to kind of get some stuff verified there before we went on, you know, out on all this, knowing that there were going to be issues. So it's given some level of cushioning to making sure that we can keep some kind of presence going on YouTube, even with all of those problems.
Well, and I know we, you know, in our little bit of research, you started off with a production company, so I would think that would definitely be a benefit moving to where you were going. You also helped. You also helped run live events, and I can't see those things not being able to push you forward. But what was the linchpin to say, you know what? Cartoons is my future. Cartoons is what I want to do, what I love to do. So fuck it, let's do it.
Well, it's not unreasonable to say that aspect of it, knowing that going down that road with animation and with cartoons and even with Golf City as a project is something I've known for years and years on end, but something that I had no capability to facilitate. And so you just try to, you know, let's say, for instance, just to make a way over the top analogy, let's say that you want to be an astronaut and you want to fly to the moon, right? Okay, you can't just up and decide, I want to fly to the moon. What you actually have to do is do several years of things that are adjacent to that goal in order to build up the skills, the networking, the experience necessary to make a play for trying to fly to the moon, right? Like these guys had to go through tons of school, lots of training. A lot of them are in military or in STEM fields of one kind or another, all of these different things. And all of that prepared them for the opportunity to attempt to go to the moon. So let's call Golf City being a successful project getting to the moon. Okay, well, I couldn't just up and do that. There were several years of other things that I did, but often with in the back of my mind, you know, is this or is this not pushing me in the right direction? And I will say, too, that there's always been kind of a two-pronged plan there. I am equally excited about attempting to do a live-action feature film. I would equally take that goal as I would becoming a professional animator over time. But again, availability is important, and the nature of culture and the years that availability is there is important as well. And just kind of what your life becomes over time. You know, I watched a ton of I was big on old gangster flicks coming up, so tons of Scorsese, Coppola, any of that kind of stuff. I just love those movies. So writing the big epic dialogue like that with these long, intricate stories, I just thought was so cool growing up. And you know, I have tried to write screenplay a couple of times, but again, how do you facilitate a plan like that? I can't just up and decide to do a feature-length film, even on a broke dick budget indie level. I'm still looking at high 5 figures to get anything done there, and that's just not something you can up and do. The same way with animation, at least in the older days, to do any kind of cell animation is ridiculously expensive. Making a 2D cartoon just on the level of even the cheap stuff that we watched growing up, like, you know, you can go back and watch Transformers now. That cartoon's cheap as fuck.
Fuck yeah.
But even doing stuff like, man, they got the wrong voices coming out of people. And you know what I mean? It's jacked up.
It's a great cartoon, though.
I love it. I do love it. But, you know, you can look at those, and even on that low budget end, it still is an obscenely expensive task to try to do anything like that. So both of those goals were really unattainable to me, particularly in the early years. And then about you know, many years back now, I started working on stage as a stagehand. At the same time, again, the two-pronged effect. That was also when I bought my first laptop and got my first pirate copy of Premiere. And tried to start kind of teaching myself the ways not only of being on stage and the live entertainment aspect there, but also how that studio post-production works, with the idea of my idea for just where I wanted to take my business. And I've been self-employed many, many years. Where I wanted to grow it in the long run was being able to be that kind of one-stop shop, full-scale production from beginning to end. So you could come with me with an idea, and I could put myself and writing guys on it to make sure you're fleshed out to where you need to be. We could take you through the pre and the design, go through the entire production of it, regardless of media type, and handle all the post, including all of the like authoring and promotion. And we had social media services set up and all this. And that took years, you know, years and years of handling stage labor, working for other companies, contracting with all these different places, networking all these guys. And of course, on the other end of that, trying to amass all of these post-production skills. And you just grow it over time, working as an independent contractor where, okay, we've got this amount, you know, I can get this amount of work with just my cell phone. Okay, well, over time, that becomes more work than just I could handle. So how do I delegate that to guys that I know? You know what I mean? Start teaching them the way, start pushing that work off onto them. Mm-hmm. Now, the work that comes to me directly is more than 5 guys can handle. Okay, so you upgrade from there. And that's kind of how that went in line. And again, this is it's a slow process over several years. And
yeah, but was there a point in time, that critical moment where you just looked around what you were doing and you just decided to shake the dice and throw them on the table?
Absolutely. We can flash forward quite a bit to I'd say right about a year ago, little over a year ago, spring of 17, right?
I remember the days.
The olden days, spring of 2017. I just kind of in the absorption of media around me, and it's a feeling that, you know, I'm sure many of us have had over the last few years, that kind of your legacy media stuff, broadcast network, all that's kind of falling away, and at the same time, in a way, we're kind of coming onto this full circle application of media, where much like the beginning of broadcast, now we're down to voice. It's live voice is now the hot shit. Just like radio in the fucking 30s, it was all live performance. There was no image. It was just voice, and that's kind of
it's wild how it's made that turn. You know, where
it's come back to that being popularized again, and in addition to that, you know, you couple that with, in my mind, what I look at as the state of American animation and just the kind of shows that come out now, what's popular, the long runners. And often when I define things about American animation, you want to look at the big 3. And in my mind, the big 3 are South Park, Family Guy, and The Simpsons.
And those, and sorry to interrupt, but with those 3, the animation is not super fucking
draw.
Yeah, it's not. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's especially.
Don't be wrong,
and you look at these newer shows like fucking Gravity Falls and all those silly ass shows where it's like, what's that one ass fucking hillbillies? What Squidbillies? Oh my goodness, point, that is about the worst fucking art.
My animation's at least as good as Aqua Teen at this point.
Oh fuck yeah!
You know what I'm saying?
No, you guys.
Well,
you guys
now here's the thing that really differentiates it. Like I sat myself down and watched an Adult Swim lineup, and there are some that are over the top, but most of those are coming from overseas. Everything that's made here in the U.S.
Right,
and
in Georgia.
Yeah. The best ones.
Hey, well, you guys are from Texas, though.
You know it. I'm just mocking production bumpers.
I thought you said. Never mind. I was just giving you shit a little bit.
Well, so is Mike Judge, isn't he?
What, from Texas?
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell you for sure he's born in Texas. No, he spent a lot of time here, and that most of his work is set in Texas, and a lot of it is scarily accurate. So he's, in my mind, at least partially a Texas boy for sure. Like, I feel like I could have a legit conversation with Mike Judge and not even have to talk about cartoons. You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the things that that really that I really enjoy is the amount of complexity that you've put into Golf City. This isn't just here's Daffy and Bugs and they're running from Elmer.
Yeah, this is actually something that I really wanted to get into is
well, and
the whole idea of
let me bring it back
mythos. Where did that come from? I mean, you can come up with any silly storyline, but
for sure, any
jackass
could write Family Guy.
I try to come up with a cult. I remember whenever I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't sell it too well. I said, "Hey, join my cult," but that's probably not the best way to sell it. But you've created a mythos. What made you decide that's the way to go to have a mythos as your backstory?
Let the brother tie it back.
to bring it back to your question from a moment ago as to where the linchpin was. So you see all of these things happening, and around that same time, and I got to tell you, in a lot of ways, this is the catalyst, because, and I'll only preface this by saying that Golf City as as an intellectual property or as a concept had been on the shelf for quite a while previous to this, and I'll get into that for a second. But when I was introduced to Adobe Character Animator, and I was able to start talking to Dave Werner, who's one of the guys on the design team who created it, that really made animation on a 2D level accessible. It made it accessible to me. You know what I mean? I've been an Adobe junkie many years. That's my primary software tool. Like I said, I run a video editing studio for a long time. I've been using Premiere since, fucking forever. Photoshop, After Effects, all these different things. Animation, as far as within an Adobe suite is concerned, has always kind of been limited to Flash. I hate writing action script. I've never really enjoyed Flash very much, so I didn't take it forward. I tried several things other times. We can get into that in a minute. But point being, when all of those things fell into place at the same time, I'm sitting in, this is when basically I had the production studio, but at this point where it's starting to have seasonal issues. We're doing well. We're making money, keeping the place open. The place was fucking expensive as hell. I think I might have picked a little bit pricey of a studio. It really was great, really looked good to clients. I had an awesome conference room. It gave us room to shoot green screen in the back, all kinds of good stuff. But it was pricey. If there was any kind of lull that could kind of cause all of these problems. And I just found myself at my desk there fucking 80 hours a week. Just trying, and don't get me wrong, I'm not scared of hard work. That's what it takes. But at the same time, it was wearing on me. And this availability came there to try to animate something in 2D. And not, I was looking into that, and not long after that, a close friend of mine, John McIntyre, a guy that worked for me at that time at the studio there, he came to me with or it wasn't even coming to me. He fucking was off and rolling. He was like, I got this idea. I know we've been talking about fuck TV, something about YouTube, blah, 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 or any kind of streaming platform that be in the future. And I got this idea for a politics thing based on this joke that's already there. Maybe easy to popularize, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. He did a few of them. It was working out a little bit. We go, okay, let's try to animate this as well. And of course, we can't say the name of that show anymore. But those of you that were here a year ago know what I'm talking about. So we started working that show, worked really well. And again, it's using something that was kind of existing to be able to see if our techniques and just, the nature of the jokes and stuff would be viable to an audience at all. Worked out pretty well. We knew it was temporary from the get. We knew going into that project that there was no way it could fucking last, which is fine. So that eventually did get struck down. But before that happened, because now, okay, the humor style is viable, the animation style is viable. Here's a situation where we can potentially produce an audience to make it happen. And that was basically it. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to grab my project, Golf City, off the shelf. I'm going to use all of these things we've learned in the last couple of months, and I'm going to get to fucking work. And if it works at all, we're going to duck the fuck out of all this other bullshit, and I'm going to do that. Now, this is all last summer when that happened. So at that point, I took one of my more and there's, 100, 125 characters in Golf City as it is. There are varying levels of development, right? Some are just sketches. But at that point, one of my more developed characters, Ghastly, Ghastly and Jerome being the first characters I drew for Gulf City, that was probably like 2005, 6, something like that. Ghastly, Jerome, and Mina Harper were the first characters. They had a webcomic for a while. Okay, so why would a ghost need to be on YouTube? Okay, so we find that this kind of political discourse is popular at this time. What would a ghost care about politically? So, basically, I just celebrated South American culture and sat in a room overnight and wrote in a fucking spiral for a while and came up with this whole thing about how ghosts don't have civil rights. And instead of using these, you want to take these really serious issues that are hard to talk about in any kind of public sense, like racism and white supremacy and the ethno-state and all that, and you force them to be ridiculous so that they're able to be talked about in a more humorous sense. So that's when, come up with the concept for white supremacy and it being about how ghosts are better than the living. And that's kind of where it started with. Now, at the same time, and again, to bring it back to somebody else who's integral to how all this has happened over the last year, a close friend of mine, John McIntyre, he and I had been saying the words "all hail blue whale" for years and years. I don't even remember how we came up with it, or we just kind of started telling the joke, and we had this whole thing about how it's the biggest thing on earth. Why would we worship something that's dead? Let's worship something that's alive. Blah blah blah.
Krill be his name.
Well, see, none of that was there yet. No, it was just the words. All it was for several years was the words "all hail blue whale," and it was only because it was the biggest thing. Like, that's all there was to that joke for so long.
Where did the blue whale come from? Was it just because it's a huge mammal?
Come from the water, my friend. Yeah, they just it's just because it's the biggest thing that ever existed. That literally is where the whole thing come from. So
I feel that. It's great. I mean, I'm not. It's awesome whenever you pan to it and it's just sitting there doing that half slide to where it's swinging that fucking fin bag. It's like, yep, you better fucking hail me. That's the way.
Where do you see the new stuff coming up? Oh man, there's spoiler alert, but there is a whale scene in the next episode of Gulf City it's better than any of them that I have ever done.
Awesome.
It's great. Okay, so to continue on with the story there. So, during this writing phase, come up with kind of the concept for white supremacy and how all that would work. Okay, well, how do I expand on the lore for that character and that standpoint and be able to make it more inclusive to my existing characters and setting? And again, we'll go to that in a second, how much of Gulf City is already there, was there already at this time. Okay, so Ghastly has to have a larger world to operate in. Things have to be alive around him and exist around him. And so there's a way that he'll react to certain things prior to any of his knowledge of YouTube. He has to have an existing history prior to YouTube that he can use as a foundation to be able to tell jokes from during this time. And, I just, myself and Charlie Back included, just loved the all hail blue whale thing for so many years. So I came up with this whole thing where, again, part of the thing being, let's worship something alive instead of something that's dead. Well, Ghastly's dead instead of alive. So perfect reason for him to worship something. And I just started building this complexity about, okay, it's about resources. While people, they're alive, they're fucking up the earth, which is heaven for the blue whale. And that came up with the concept of entanglement and how krill works into all of that. And I must have wrote 10, 20 pages in a spiral. And I think that's the only time I've handwritten anything that big in like 10 fucking years, but just really fleshed all of that out, and that just created this connection for Ghastly and the blue whale. And it wasn't just that, it was the history research, like everything about Jesus and Jan Hus and all of these things. I knew all of that stuff at this time. I had to know all of that lore already. It just had to be revealed over time, so it made sense to an audience. You can't come out one shot with, like, if you meet a stranger and they go, what does all hail blue whale mean? They do not have time to hear the answer to that question. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, there's quite a bit to it. But anyway, so that establishes a kind of premise and setting for Ghastly to operate in. And then first order of business is start bringing in more of the existing characters. And as that became popular, you see that it's able to work. And not long after that, I closed my studio, put a bunch of my gear in storage, packed myself back into my apartment, upgraded my gear a little bit, and just got to work. So I would say, to answer your question from like 4 hours ago, the link was last summer, at the not long after Fright Supremacy started, was where I kind of made that decision. Now, I will say the worst part about that is within 30 days of the start of Fright Supremacy is when YouTube introduced limited state. So it's been fucking impossible to make shit work since then. But it is what it is. I'm sorry. Let me jump forward to your I'm way behind on answering your questions. I'm going so long.
No, you're fucking you're kicking ass, dude. I don't want to open my mouth, but I feel like I have to. That's the worst part about it, is I feel like I have to open my mouth, but I'm sitting there just taking it all in. All I'm doing is sitting there typing. Listen to this motherfucker. This is because so many people just they don't want to. I mean, it's work. You know, you got to fucking do it, and
yeah,
that's
it's
and everything you're saying. Everything you're saying is you got to fucking do it. And that you know, that's why I'm just like typing. Listen.
People over the years that have gone, how did you get this done? How are you able to make this happen? How are you able to? And not that I've ever been like a gigantic success. I don't have millions of dollars or anything, but I've been able to keep myself alive without having a boss for quite a long time, and I think that alone is fairly difficult. But you know, when people ask these questions of, you know, how, not only the past, but for the future, A, how did you make this happen before? And B, why do you think your stupid little cartoon is going to succeed? And the answer to both of those questions is the same. I want it the most. I'm willing to work the hardest. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to put in the time. That's why it will make it. Because most people won't do that.
That's
damn good answer.
So I'm going to go ahead
I'm not special. I'm not any of those things. I just want it the most. That's it, man.
Well, hold on. I want to pause everybody up for just a second. We got 35 people hanging out in the chat with us.
Fuck yeah. That's by far the biggest.
Things. Everybody first. Can I get everybody to do a nice all hail blue whale in the chat? And of course, throw down whatever adult beverage or consumable you have right next to you right now.
There you go. I, as you know, drink turkey and Coke. That's my jam.
Turkey 101?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Fuck that 80 shit.
Fuck yeah.
I'm
buying wild turkey. I'm buying 101. You got to.
I'm doing pineapple vodka and vanilla cream soda. I'm calling it Pinilla Cream.
Pinilla Cream.
And I will drink it until it's gone. So we'd like to thank our non-sponsor, New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam vodka. The alcohol you drink when you want to drink alcohol. That's vodka.
That's a great line. And by the way, I'm taking a look in the chat. I know most of these motherfuckers. Guys, thank you so much for coming and checking out these guys, Sisyphus.Griffin. Make sure to sub to their channel as well. And guys, let the Whale Gang know what's up. You know, there's consistently people are like, why don't you tell me about the back end stuff and how do you do this? I'm telling everybody everything right now. Maybe we'll come in here and listen.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and ask.
We're going to be and we're going to be wrenching everybody in the chat too.
There you go.
I've wrenched people that's thrown more than a couple things. Pink Salmon and Gulf City, of course.
Oh yeah,
Free Press, Gulf City. But so let's go ahead and ask another good question. UNAP.
Did I answer all of them?
Dude, you fucking.
Where Gulf City started?
You've been blowing it up. Nah. Here's the next question I got for you. Is UNAP? You've been rolling around for a little bit. So. Did you give him his persona, or did you know, like, did he figure it out, or how this whole AP thing go?
It's kind of interesting because, like I said, Gulf City had so many existing characters, but when he came in with the idea to do AP, that character, at least as far as the attitude, I did the design, I drew the frog, that's fine.
Yeah, you didn't draw the frog. I mean, the frog was already out there, though.
No. In conversations that he's had about AP, he had to make it different enough so that Jerkwad, who made Pepe.
Oh, okay. I feel you.
And we have been pulling away from that over time, and there will be some developments on that in the near future.
I know. Brittany beat him up for a little bit about it.
I know. It's funny, man. No worries there. That character creation is primarily his, and in a way that was part of the mutagen that allowed Gulf City kind of some new life, because I have so many characters and so much setting excuse me, but then on top of that, by by bringing that character home, so to speak.
And he's
right?
the vessel. I mean, he's
right. I'm able to create all this great line for the story, and it adds what is one of the big explosive elements to, I think, what can make Gulf City popular, and that's just the nature of diatribe between myself and John McIntyre. We've known each other for so long, we're able to really just work quickly, and I think that translates through multiple characters, and primarily when we do AP and Ghastly, obviously. But I think that's a huge help, and he's a natural comedy talent for sure, and does great voice work. So he's definitely a part of the project.
Yeah,
So do you have 20 years when you started doing all the character bases? Did you have in mind that you wanted to make most of them anthropomorphic? Was that a conscious choice, or is it just easier to draw the aminals?
No, here's the thing with that, and to take that and to tie it to a question you asked earlier at the inception of Gulf City. The concept as it stands wouldn't initially even call Gulf City. It's gone through some iterations, and in each of these iterations, there was creation of new characters and creation of new settings, right? Mm-hmm. So for a while, I had a concept about a show that was about the day shift that works at a strip club. Because it's just so like utterly depressing. I thought you could write some really hilarious stories there. So you take some characters, and again, in most of these scenarios, I took existing characters like Ghastly, Jerome, Mina, and some other ones that will be on the show eventually, and work them into that. So there are some old concept sketches of Ghastly as a bartender at a strip club. I also had
don't talk too much shit about that, because they got a show fucking LA to Vegas, or Vegas to LA, or whatever. I mean, and basically that's the same idea. That's the morning fucking strip club version, you know.
Oh really? There is a show like that now?
It's actually called LA to Vegas.
No shit.
And these guys, they're steward, or one guy's the pilot, one guy's the steward, there's a stewardess, but it's just the people going from LA to Vegas. So, you know, think of how many different storylines you can come up with, you know, going from LA to Vegas. And it's the same idea. It's like, these guys that really don't want to be part of this job have to deal with all these weird aspects of the world, you know. I mean, that's kind of with the strippers, the B team strippers.
You take something that's a harsh work environment like that, and you make a workplace comedy out of it. Like I get how that conceptually can work. Now, knowing that now, I'm glad that that's not what I went with. But in these iterations of the creation of the concept, those things get worked in. So now the strip club, which by the way is called Squanders, it's now worked in. Those characters can exist within Gulf City. It just becomes another one of the settings within that. They're also
hold on. I gotta ask one question about Squanders. Is there an A team? Is there an A team?
Oh yeah, prime time on Saturday.
Jesus.
Minimal C-section scars at that point.
All right, I can deal with that. I mean, place like Squanders.
Back to Charlotte, North Carolina again. Stop it! You're giving me bad flashbacks.
Newcastle, Indiana, for fucking the dirtiest fucking strip club in the country.
I will definitely put up the tender trap down in Charlotte, North Carolina.
There it is. But so, you know, as these iterations go through, these different characters get created. And again, you know, I'm big on doing my research, and I essentially worship Chuck Jones. So like, then
I'm not going to tell you I met him and I have a cell from him.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You're
talking about
for that. That's dope.
You're talking about Chuck E. Jones, like the guy from Looney Tunes?
Hell yeah, and that's M. Jones, sir. You're thinking of Chuck E. Cheese.
Hey, he was a crotchety old fuck, but I tell you what, man.
Old Colonel Sanders looking motherfucker. But him and Mel Blanc were a really great team.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude.
What I'm able to have with John McIntyre, and we're able to create a lot that way. And just Looney Tunes are still, come on, man. Those are cartoons that are almost 100 years old, and they're still funny.
Legit. Listen, chat. This is straight fucking gold. Straight gold coming from somebody that's making a living doing this shit.
True.
I mean, that's plain and simple. This is straight gold. I mean, he sits there and listens to the same things we do, and he just expands on it. I mean, geez, Louise, it's
So,
yeah, and he does the work.
Here's one of the real strengths of Looney Tunes. Let's think about the overall cast for Warner Brothers cartoons in the 40s, right? 50s even. You've got maybe 20 characters. You got your main guys, Bugs, Daffy, Elmer, you know, all your regular guys. Now you got some of your extended too. Claude the cat, the two mice. I don't even remember their names.
Taz, Tweety.
Yeah, those are lesser cartoons. They're not so prominent. Roadrunner, Coyote, all these things. Okay, so you've got a cast.
Wife recommends Pussyfoot.
There you go. So you've got this cast, and these characters are fairly well flat, so that essentially you can book these characters the way you would book a wrestling show. You know how they react to certain situations, so you put them with other characters that will bring out those reactions. Okay, that's how you book wrestling or soap operas or just, you know what I mean, anything one-on-one like that. That's where you get the best stories often. So you take these characters, you take these really familiar characters, because there's only like 12 or 14 of them, and all you do is mix them up and you put them in a new scenario. So you can see Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam in the desert, on a pirate ship, at an Old West bar, and their reactions to each other are the same, but it's the setting and the circumstance that makes those old jokes funny again and again and again. That's one of the big strengths of Roadrunner and Coyote, which are some of my favorite cartoons of all time. Even with no dialogue, just the subtlety. And here's a little back note to that. On most Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, the stop frames of Wile E. Coyote, you know, his like big takes and stops and his face being blown up, Chuck Jones drew those by hand. It wasn't his in-between guys. He drew those hot frames of Wile E. Coyote back then, which is pretty awesome.
And really, it's hard to find anything funnier in one of those Looney Tunes cartoons than the sound of some type of big brick or stone plopping down on poor Wiley.
Sound is crucial.
Or for me, you know, just the idea of all those symphonies and, you know, concertos and stuff. It really, a lot of people know a lot of these music, but they don't know what it is because
one of my favorite Bugs cartoons is Rabbit of Seville. Marriage of Figaro.
Hell yeah.
So good. Is
that with the mustache guy? Gosh dang it. I'm sorry. Yosemite Sam.
It's Elmer Fudd. It's Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Fudd. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then he puts on the fucking Viking helmet and shit. Yeah.
Let me cut your mop. Let me shave your crop. You know, it's all of that.
Yeah.
I love that one, man. But so you take this as, in my mind, that's your inspirational base. That's what I look at as gold standard cartoons. Okay, and then you cross-reference that with what's popular in contemporary society. And again, that's the big three: South Park, Family Guy, Simpsons. You take what is funny about those shows, what's not funny about those shows. You want to take how they're conceptually put together and find a way to do something different. So what I noticed was that, in a way, in Looney Tunes, it wasn't so much about the scenarios. It was just that the characters were popular. It was just that the brand Looney Tunes was popular. It's just that the style was popular. It didn't matter what you did with them. You could put them in any scenario and they'd still be funny. Okay, so you can't... I didn't think that what I wanted to do was translate to just trying to do Looney Tunes again. I don't know that that's... You know, if that worked now, they'd be doing it.
I think, it's lack of options is why Looney Tunes was so successful.
But then you take that with your situational stuff, and how do you find something new to do there? So in those big three, one of the cornerstones to how they work is your core cast. Everything in the first season, again, Simpsons, South Park, Family Guy, you have a core cast of 4 or 5. Now, in most situations, like sitcoms, it's a core family. Simpsons, it's Homer and Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie. That's your core cast. Now, everything expands from them. Flanders, Barney and Moe, all that stuff. South Park, it's the 4 boys. It expands around them, who they interact with in school. Grew over time to be their family. By the way, the Randy episodes are always my favorites on South Park. Randy Marsh is fucking hilarious. On Family Guy, main family, Peter and Lois, Chris, Meg, and Stewie. The core cast builds out from there. Quagmire and Joe. God damn it, I can't think of what the teacher's name is. Anyway, So what they did was they took a core cast of characters in essentially a fictional city, and they built it out. And over time, at the height of popularity on these shows, it was a huge cast. Think about how many citizens you know the name of in Springfield. Easily 100. You know what I mean? In the first season, they would show crowd shots and a street crowd scene, or maybe an audience scene in an amphitheater, and there was a lot of generic characters in those old first couple of season shots like that. They do that now. They can put 100 names in those fucking seats, and you know every motherfucker in there, because they were able to build up this and to get to kind of the core of what I know you wanted your show to be about before I started rambling about all kinds of stuff. In creating lore and mythos, right? So when they started off, they're not in their final form. They're going with your base cast. They're building it up to a point where the town becomes the draw. Okay, you start with a core cast, you build up to the point where it's a large cast show, and the brand, the town, is what brings people in. You could do anything in there. You could do an episode of The Simpsons with any of those fucking characters, and people would watch it. Okay, so my idea was to take all of this and do it backwards. What if you had a show that had 150 characters right out the fucking gate, where the city is already developed and alive? There are businesses and civil service, and it functions like you could make a game out of it like that, because it's already fully fucking functional. Everything's developed, everything's fleshed out, and then you're able to pull out 6-minute cartoons the way Warner Brothers did, and tell these stories of different people that live in that city. That makes it so that anybody could write this show. Any characters could die. Any characters could come in. It gives you infinite possibilities, because what's interesting about the show is the nature of the city. A city that's dark enough to be like Sin City, but still applies cartoon physics, like getting a piano dropped on your head. Those are stories I want to see. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, again, you look at availability, you look at what works. So here we are on YouTube. Part of what we're having to do is start with that core cast, not dissimilar from how other shows did it. Try to introduce new characters as often as I can, but it's not easy. You got to build stuff over time, all of these things. The goal is to do 50 of these or whatever it takes on fucking YouTube, so that if I'm able to secure some larger platform deal from episode 101, this is a fully functional fucking city. And then that was kind of how it catalyzed, man. And everything since then has been toward that goal.
Well, and if I can throw in here,
sure.
I think what you're doing that is not what, and honestly, I really think the big three that you mentioned, 2 of them are completely played out at this point. But
Simpsons definitely need to end it before it gets sad. I have too much nostalgia with that show. Don't ruin it. Don't be Ozzy or Hulk Hogan.
Or Old Yeller, for God's sake.
Word.
But I think Family Guy relies too much on meta, throwing in weird jokes and shit. Whereas, and I hate to use the riddle wrapped in an enigma, but I mean, I can see exactly where you're going when you're pushing forward a joke and the undercurrent of politicism. And it's funny because I remember someone on Twitter trying to flame you, saying you need to be more political. And it's like, are you not watching the cartoons? Do you not understand what's going on? Because the way you mock politics and religion is incredibly, I mean, it's what I like to call a velvet hammer.
That's not bad.
I mean, you're basically dropping it down on their fucking heads, not like a Triple H, but I mean, you're basically hitting them, and they're getting the subtext of the joke a little bit later. I think that's what lends for people not being all up your ass about, well, when's the next episode? Well, I'm sure they are, but when's the next episode? Because
I already talked about it.
Well, no, because they always want to come back, and yours is not the type of cartoon where somebody watches once and goes, okay, next.
Right.
Yours is the type of cartoon that says, okay, what did I miss?
You may need to watch it again.
Yeah,
that's true.
And definitively, I mean, it's not like Fight Club layering, but there are layers there, and there are jokes that you might miss. Now there are some in jokes with the circle that you run with, but then again, those people should probably already know that fact. And there are so many blue whale acolytes out there that are willing to educate to get more people in. I think that is an incredible benefit to what you're doing right now. Your fans are loyal. I mean, can you do me a favor and just talk a little bit about your merch sales? Because I think that says a lot about loyalty to your brand.
Well, I'm certainly at a size where there are definitely creators and people I run into that want to immediately go to the negative and go, "You're not big enough to have merch. You guys aren't big enough to have a fucking Patreon. You're just out there just trying to blah blah blah." You know, assuming what my intentions are. And I've never made any secret of the fact that I'm trying to make a living being an animator. You know what I mean? I hate guys that come out here and are like, "I don't give a fuck about the money. Go to my Patreon." I'm like, fuck that noise, man.
Well, that's because you're not selling Dirty Destiny panties.
That's also true. But it became a point where there was a demand, you know, and when there's a demand, for me to not try to fulfill that, not only is one, a disservice to the fans, which I definitely am not interested in doing, but two, let's be honest here, that's leaving money on the table. Why would I do that? You know what I mean?
And you know, all the best wrestlers do have a gimmick table. By the way, I'd like to get a 1 in the chat for everybody who has made a purchase from golfgear.com.
Oh yeah.
Let's see the ones.
I think we do pretty well with merch, and I go through a lot for design on it, try to keep it fresh, keep new stuff coming out. I'll occasionally pull things that don't just didn't work or whatever, so that the site's not too crazy bloated. You know what I mean? But just being able to keep it fresh and pay attention to demand, pay attention to what people want. I'm not just putting out shit that I was like, oh, I did this super cool thing in Photoshop. Let me put that out as a fucking shirt. Who cares? You want something that's relevant to what people are looking for, particularly with something like merchandise. But it's been a steady climb on that. I think our merchandise does very well for the size that we are. Now, don't get me wrong. A difference in the merchandise that I push and what a lot of people have available is substantial. I absolutely pay more for my production costs on that merchandise, and of course how the store is presented to people and how my credit card processing works and all of these things. But I also have lower prices than a lot of other YouTube creators.
Well, and this is what falls back to it. When people are talking about, oh well, you know, you're a little fish in a big pond.
Sure.
If you've got people that are actually buying your merch, and from my time in indie wrestling, if you can make a splash or an impact, and you know somebody's picking up one of your $20 shirts off the table, then
my shirts ain't even $20. That's cool.
and honestly, that's the whole point of the deal, because your feedback is you go to the table at the end of the night and you see you got your merchandise wiped out. People are buying what you're selling, and it's not the merchandise that you're selling, it's you that you're selling, and people are buying into Golf City.
Well, you know, try to make sure to put forward not only quality but consistency. Both of those things are very important to growing a brand. As far as the merch goes, I mean, dude, the margins on that are nothing. You know, like I say, I have to pay more and there's more fees involved, and we try to keep prices low, so the margins are minimal. But that's not really the important part about the merch. Yeah, there's a few dollars profit, but more than that, it's the people walking around with it in public and the potential for conversation started on that and the spreading of the word. Or it's, I love the merch pictures. People send me merch pictures all the time. Hey, I just got my shit in the mail. Here's me with my shirt, my hoodie. A lot of guys like to pose with their guns and their hoodie and shit. Dude, we'll roll them on the streams and all. That's great. To me, that's fucking great. That's the best part about the merch.
Yeah, and that's a two type of fuel too. It's fuel. It's fuel for the people who love what you do, and it's the fuel for you to say, well, shit, I am onto something. I'm doing what I love, and people are digging it too.
Hey, and that's another important part to consider, is that it won't take long, if you have any level of success with something creative, for people to go, hey, you know what you should do? And there's a couple of problems with that. First of all, the reason that things were successful in the first place is because I did it the way that I think is best, not because somebody told me that this is the way to do it. So straying from that again is not only a disservice to the fans, but it ruins the organicness, even though it's kind of a trite word to use there. Maybe
No, it's appropriate.
the validity of where the content comes from, where the that place on the inside that the writing comes from. You know, you got to be able to be honest to that and not be, you know, you want to pay attention to what people like and don't like, but you can't allow yourself to flip over what you're doing at a whim because somebody goes, hey man, the shit you're doing ain't right. You need to do this and that. Pretty much anybody that starts their sentence with you need to do this and that probably don't know what they're talking about.
Well, and let's just break it down. You were in wrestling. I was in wrestling as well. The crowd is going to tell you if you're on the right track.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely
and your crowd is hands down saying, yes, we are on this journey. Here's some gas money. Let's get farther down the road.
Sure. Yeah, man. Absolutely. The fans are amazing. The fan base for Gulf City is, I think it's accurate to use the word awesome because it'll literally put you in awe to see what these guys are willing to do to keep something like this going. And that's what makes it happen. You know what I mean? The platform that we're on is not helpful very much to that end. It's the fan base that makes it happen. So for me to be kind of gambling right now, which I totally am, you know, I've divested myself from pretty much everything else. Really all I do now is Gulf City. So that's no safety net. That's hoping that people like it enough that I'm able to make it happen off of that. But gamble or not, again, dude, that's what it takes. If I wanted safe, I'd have a job. You know what I mean?
Well,
so go ahead and throw that out there for us.
The fact that you have, I mean, you've already talked about your two of your key players. You've been able to put in positions to be able to help with your success. That absolutely that's an incredible
is so important. Having a good team around you makes a huge difference. And are critical, and especially when you find people that are a huge talent in their own right. You know, being able to team up in that way, I think really you can have some great results, man. And hopefully we're getting some of those great results. I'd like to be able to expand on it, but you know.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to kayfabe heat on the frog for forever. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, and if you would, I'd like to hear a little bit from the animator side.
Okay, sure.
Where, I mean, when you started doing your types, and I know this is retreading as far as the anthropomorphizing the
I didn't answer any of that. That's right.
But I would love to hear, you know, when you sit down and you start to do these characters, because like you said, you wanted to make sure that there was a vast landscape to work with and pull from.
Absolutely.
Did you start thinking, well, you know, we got to have a couple of token humans? Because to me, that's what it kind of feels like, that you've got the token humans in there kind of as a wink and a nod. And then everything else are aminals that, I mean, literally are trying to embody what aminal they actually are.
Right. And animals are part of it, but I would say that overall the cast for Gulf City is more diverse than like Futurama even. So there is a human component to the cast as well as an anthropomorphic animal element to the cast. And by the way, as far as anthropomorphic goes, I'm not going to pull a fucking BoJack Horseman where they have an animal head and a human body.
Thank you.
That worked to a degree on the frog, but I have that there's a rabbit stripper that has rabbit legs. There's a dachshund who's a psychiatrist who's really long with the little short legs and a bunch of nipples, and various things. You want to allow them to be at least partially animalistic based on the character. Otherwise, what's the point of their character design? For instance, BoJack Horseman, it makes little to no difference.
And not to kiss your taint on it, but it seems like you have more of a Miyazaki approach when it comes to doing your characters. It's more of what's going to fit this circumstance than, oh, I have to put something in here.
Sure, sure. That certainly is part of it, and that part of the importance of good character creation is making sure that there's a necessity. You know, it's like anything else. You start a business where there's a gap in the industry, so that there's some potential for success. You create a character where there's a gap in your story, so that there's some potential for that character to be latched onto. Like I say, you know, you've got your partially human component, your partially animal component, partially dead people. There also are zombies and monsters and all of those things, robots, aliens. I mean, it's pretty much any kind of set of character archetype you can potentially think of. All those things are viable in Goal City because, again, you want to create the. What's funny to me about the concept is you create this incredibly dark and difficult city to live in where just everything goes wrong and it's increasingly difficult, but you operate that city under just a completely ridiculous set of cartoon physics where again not and it reinforces you know, if I can call Fright Supremacy a microcosm to how Gulf City works, it reinforces that same thing. You take something incredibly serious and you force it to be ridiculous so that it's talk aboutable, if that's a word. For instance, and we haven't seen this on the show, but I can let you know in one of the, you know, so you want to be able to take characters, mix it to a point that it's funny and still be able to touch on something serious. Or there's all these kind of components that need to be in place. And one of the things based on the nature of the show that we're definitely going to see at some point is what the fucking shittiest ghetto looks like in Gulf City. Those jokes are all over the fucking place. You know, that almost writes itself. But here's the thing. We've seen that story many times. That's a very inflammatory story many times. So how do you take that and you make it more of a reflection of what our current society is about and remake that joke so that there's something new and fresh to it? Okay, well, in my mind, and I saw this happening in my own city, in a neighborhood I used to live in, as a matter of fact. It used to be just a fucking shitty rundown neighborhood. And I'm sure many of you are, that live in large market cities are dealing with gentrification problems there too, where these high-end businesses and landowners move in to force up prices, thus pushing out all your low-rent civilians and altering what the area is like. A good example of this is what happened in Brooklyn. There's very... So what's funny to me about that is, so you take something like Brooklyn, who in the minds of people that live in anywhere other than New York, based on what they've seen on TV and movies throughout the course of their life, is a fucking hood spot. You know what I mean? But if you go there now, in a lot of places, it's not. It's inhabited by these predominantly white hipster fuckheads with the beards and the glasses with no prescription lenses in them, and the
preach, brother, preach,
swoop haircuts and the white belts and the tight pants and the expensive coffee and all of that bullshit. So what I think would be funny is if the ghetto in Gulf City, you treat it the same way we would treat a ghetto in the 90s. Imagine Friday, you know what I mean? Still the guns, still the don't, you know, if you're a certain color, don't go here after dark kind of thing. Still the kind of air of tension that's always out there. All of these great storytelling elements that we saw from those type of movies in the 90s, but you convert it so that instead it's the same hood, but now it's inhabited by white hipsters. So when the car drives by with the system on, they're playing some emo bullshit. When motherfuckers are grouping up on the corner, they're yelling at you about how you need to have a gluten-free diet instead about trying to sell you drugs. You know what I mean? So you have...
Are there any drive-by lattes?
Exactly. That's exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So you make it for, you know, the straights or whatever that walk
California,
in there. It's
Uber
equally
Alice.
scary to them. They go, oh my God, don't let children in there. You'll get fucking latte or whatever. But you alter what the fill of the joke is by inserting this other piece in there. So you're able to tell those jokes about just how people respond to the ghetto or stories that happen there, or all of these different things. But you're able to allow it to be some level of satire because it's populated by a little bit more of a poke at something that's more contemporary than what we saw in 90s gangster flicks.
Okay, well, as a creator and an artist, give me your top 3 books, the books that inspired you as far as being able to say, you know, animation is definitely a valid form of story exposition.
If you mean animation, so comics or prose?
Let's go comics. If you want to slide a couple pros in, that's cool too.
Okay. As far as comics and this bled over into cartoons as well, a big part of it for me when I was a kid, I wasn't so much, and there has been some, but I wasn't so much into superhero comics. I liked the comedy comics, so I read the Sunday comics in the paper. I lived with my grandparents primarily when I was a kid, so they got the paper that whole time, and I read the Sunday comics. So stuff like Calvin and Hobbes, and I can't even remember half of them now, but a lot of those, what you would see in the 80s and 90s, those Sunday comics and stuff were a big part of.
If you say
for animation there, sure.
If you say Family Circle, I'm going to have to hang up on you.
I definitely did not say Family Circle. Fuck Jeffy. I don't give a damn what Jeffy does. My number one was definitely Calvin and Hobbes. That's my shit. I actually still have some of those books. Like I got some of the color compilation books of old Bill Watterson comics. I still have those. As far as like your more mainstream books, your comic books, I read Ninja Turtles for a while. Fucking love Eastman and Laird. When it was black and white, I have the collection of those now as well. I have very few comics, but that's one of the ones that I still have. To this
day. Remind me. I'll tell you a story off air about Kevin and Peter.
Those guys had great creative minds. You want to talk about some great character creation, man. They really did some cool stuff, and I love the nod to Daredevil and all the little stuff that went into kind of their beginning character creation before that world expanded out too much. That was always very interesting to me.
Have you ever read any of Howard Chaykin's stuff, specifically American Flag?
I don't think so. No.
Because for some reason I see a lot of how the Gulf City layout is with American Flag.
That's interesting. I may have to take a look.
Yeah, it's definitely not a superhero comic. It's more of a detective noir kind of thing. Right. And honestly, I wanted to ask that because to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gulf City seems more noir, more gangster than anything else that's out there.
You're absolutely right. If I had the fucking hardware to make it time efficient, there'd be much more dramatic lighting effects in the cartoon. A lot more dark, a lot more hard shadows. And we've been able to do that a couple times, but it's just hardware-wise, it's tough to make that happen efficiently. So I think that's absolutely true. And as far as comic influences go, on that note, I would definitely include Frank Miller. Not just Sin City, but stuff like RoboCop and all of that. The actual books of that, just that super high contrast, I thought was so fucking cool. You know what I mean?
Oh, and yeah.
That's not totally dissimilar from how I draw by hand. Like because I usually don't draw color. I'll draw pencil or ballpoint pen. I can kill it with a ballpoint pen. You know what I mean? But I draw super high contrast if I go to anything other than just flat outline. Like if I'm finishing something, I love that high contrast. Darks. Gotta have really dark darks. I want clean blacks. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think that gives you a more dramatic look.
Well, I definitely suggest, if you get time, to check out the American Flag stuff. That's what inspired Frank Miller to do Sin City.
Oh, that's cool. I'll take a look, man. That'd be real cool. And I also enjoyed Philip K. Dick. If I do Android Stream of Electric Sheep and any of the stuff that primarily inspired Blade Runner and some other kind of sci-fi movies during that time. But his stuff has a very interesting style. And I kind of got on to that. And this was later on. This wasn't when it came out. I was too young at that time. But a little bit later on, getting into that, kind of branching off from the heavy metal comics.
Sure.
That inspired that movie. There's some stylistic similarities.
That's a great movie.
And I love fucking Ralph Boschke. Any of the stuff that he does, all that rotoscope and any of that, even like Fire and Ice, which isn't, that content's not really for me, but just the art style's so great. And I love Fritz the Cat, man. Come
on. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Now let's go ahead and transition this a bit into the tools that you use to make your cartoons.
Actual process. Yeah, most definitely. If we're gonna do that, you mind if I take a hot break, smoke a cigarette? It's actually
yeah. Go ahead.
It might even able to be
turn my AC on.
I need to have a heart-to-heart talk with the chat while you're taking a smoke.
Sure. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Doc, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. All right.
Hey, chat. I just wanted to make sure that you're digging this as much as we are, because I'll be honest with you, this is a lot of fanboy service. What Justin's doing right now is the kind of stuff that I love to support. If you get the chance to do so, then hit them up at Golf City Gear. You don't have to buy the shirts or the mugs, even though the mugs are pretty damn dope. You can always buy the stickers or whatever you need to. But the most important thing, and here's where I get on my soapbox, you have to be able to support the people that you like. The worst part you can get is being just a fly-by-night fan. If you like what they do, then do what you can. I mean, hey, Jack T. Ripper, you are the man. I have seen your pictures with all the mugs. That is some sweet shit. And if I wasn't poor and living in a ghetto, I'd probably own something from Golf Gear. But let's just say, even if you don't have the money like my broke ass, you can always support them by making sure, smashing that like button, following them whichever channel that they're running from. You can also, I know there was a push back in the day a couple months ago to get Adult Swim to notice them. And I know I spam the shit out of Adult Swim. If you like something enough, make sure and put your passions behind it too. I know there are a lot of great people out there who are supporting Golf City and what they're doing and how they're doing it. Just keep doing it. And let's get a bunch of ones in the chat for those who love that Golf City.
Yeah, I went ahead and put that link that I want to say Jack put in. Nope, Freedom for All. I went ahead and put that in the description. So if anybody afterwards wants to go on to that, it's right under his Twitter.
Yeah, and the big thing about it is, as you're listening to Justin talk, you can understand the fact that this is a man pursuing his dreams. And I used to run a radio show a long time ago, and I used to close it out by saying, never give up on your dreams, because your dreams never give up on you. And this is proof positive. Now, this could explode. This could take him to millionaire status. Who knows?
He has the world built, and that's half the problem, is building the world. And it's actually a functional world, and it's smart. I mean, it's not just some fucking, oh, this is Townsville and this is City's-ton. I mean, he actually, it's a smart idea, and it's functional, and that's half the problem. All he needs is exposure, in my opinion.
And honestly, cash or no cash, the audience is feeding the creators, and the creators are feeding the audience. The symbiosis is perfect and complete. So as long as you guys are enjoying it, make sure and stay vocal with it. Especially those of you who take pictures with Golf City gear and guns.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. There it is.
So please make sure, put your glasses up.
There you go.
Let's do a quick shot, and all hell blue whale.
Man, Kobe under his name.
So I'll go ahead and give Ghastly a question. This is from my main man Rizzo. He's one of your big fans. He goes,
"Oh yeah, I know Rizzo. What
is your ideal fright no state?" That's the question he wanted to ask you. He actually DM'd me personally, which is, I got like 30 followers, so that means something to me.
I swear to God, I was going to quit if you would have mentioned the J question.
The fright death no state, essentially, the fright death no state is almost like a de facto result. So let's say that we're able to completely carry out our mission, and all human lives are entangled, and everybody evolves into ghosts, and there's no more living left. There's no more destruction of where we are. We're able to, all race, all fucking religion is all shed. So that all of that's done. Everybody's hailing the whale. By default, you have a fright death no state at that point. It's all ghosts, no living.
I think where he was going is if you guys would separate, like who would be, of course, you wouldn't want the spook Kyle. Would they want to separate in their own frightened state?
Oh, come on, that's good. Free Press of Golf City said it's an ecto state.
There you go.
And then
now I do have to relate something, and hopefully you can relay this to Ghastly to give me the complete answer on it. Mm-hmm. On my first stream, I drank 28 shots in an hour and a half. And
that's quite a few, sir.
Yeah,
and I died. Apparently I died.
Yeah.
But I did come back, and I didn't understand whether or not I was entangled, but I am kind of ghostly. And my wife is enjoying the ghost D. So I don't know if I'm truly entangled or not.
If your wife's a spectrophiliac, I think you're at least on the right track, my man.
But yeah, let's if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about the gear that you use to help create your cartoons.
Sure. You want to hear actual hardware too? I can tell you that part.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the only reason why we have 30 people in here to hear to see the nuts and bolts and see how the wheels get greased.
Oh Lord. Okay.
All right. Quick, hold on. Let me give some oddball question. What's Ghastly's feeling on Casper the Ghost?
Fuck that friendly motherfucker.
All right. Go ahead and tell you how to make a cartoon. I just had to get it out there because that's something Doc actually asked me not to ask the question, but I had to get it out there.
This little devil's a bitch.
He's too fucking friendly.
So as far as hardware goes, on my desk, I run two. I have twin custom HPZ 800s. That was the series that they made especially for working on Adobe. Both of them have dual quad-core hyper-threaded Intel Xeon processors, which mean I run 16 logical cores at 2.67 per machine. The RAM it's not 100% even. It's give or take 50 gigs RAM per. I actually just recently got a new video card. They were out of 1080s. Excuse me. So I got a 1070T or whatever the next one down is. And so the other machine has my two old 580s in it right now. I think I moved it to something. I have five monitors in front of me. And
what's that bring your rendering speed to?
Well, the last couple have been much bigger, and the next one's probably going to be even worse. But I can render an episode of Golf City in approaching real time, depending.
So can I ask you a level 1 Adobe question?
Sure.
I've been doing a lot of. I use Premiere 15, I believe, and I narrate, right? Mm-hmm. But it's only coming up in one ear. How do you double it up to where it comes up in both ears?
Okay, so what you want to do is, are you recording directly into Premiere?
I'm just recording narration.
Okay, so in all likelihood, you are recording in mono, not recording in stereo.
Yeah, I'm using a audio interface, and I use a mic and all that.
Do you have an XLR cable to that interface?
I don't know. It's
the
in
one
a
with
computer.
The 3 pins.
My into my mic.
You ought to be able to get a stereo signal. You may be able to look into your settings and fix that.
It goes into line 1. Mono, I'll go ahead and give out my setup, which is nowhere near your fucking setup, but I use a Worker B mic, and then I use a PreSonus audio interface, and then I just hook it into my Dell.
Well, since we're sharing, I will say that I use a PC that has a hamster wheel and a crank start.
I can affirm that. I can affirm that.
That's the good shit.
We've had to smack that hamster a couple times to get him fucking moving a little bit.
I recently was able to upgrade my mic, actually. I just got a SM7B, and I'm running that into a Behringer interface, which is not bad. Behringer's come up in quality since they bought Midas.
See, I have no clue about this stuff. I honestly got into this purely because I wanted to fight on the internet.
Sure.
I got tired of fighting at the bar.
Right.
Because bar people are idiots. And for some reason, I thought people on the internet were smarter, which I'm wrong. I was wrong.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. The difference is that my fist didn't hurt afterwards.
Right.
You know, that was the only difference, is that my hands didn't hurt afterwards. So it was like one of them things where all I want to do is tell white nationalists that they're stupid and they should have babies. So I bought all this stuff. I mean, I work a lot of hours, and you know, I mean, I'm just a worker. I wish I could be like you. I have tried. I can't hang my balls out there like you. Let's go ahead and talk about how big your balls are, because I mean,
they're fucking gigantic,
dude. They gotta be, dude. You fucking the way you've hung them out there. Let's go ahead and count them. Let's go ahead. I mean, you hung them out there just with. I don't even want to get into the details of it, but you used to promote. Actually, the way Doc says it, you executed wrestling. I mean, motherfuckers would call you up and say, "Hey, we got shit going on, and we know you're the guy to fucking handle it. We know you got, we know you got all the movers and everything to do it."
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I've produced many wrestling shows, and some a little boxing and UFC as well.
Yeah, so you know, you went there, and you've done things, and then you went into producing. I mean, in my mind, a whole world. You know, along with a mythos. I mean, it's fucking amazing. You know,
I appreciate it, man. It's got to have that depth.
The brain. I'm a D&D. I'm a D&D guy. So you actually and I've been a DM. Yeah, I am. I mean, Cheetos. Where's the Mountain Dew? If anybody,
there've definitely been times that you have to take it too far to be able to get to that level.
Exactly.
There was a time where, because there is a map to Gulf City, and that I operate within, even though I've never been able to put it out because it's just a sketch right now. But we're working on a really nice graphic for it that we'll have sometime in the future. But the original drawing of that map, there was a time where, and this is almost embarrassing, but it's what it takes, man. I had that map up on my wall, huge, and had all the character sketches all pinned in different places on there, and like drawings of buildings where they would work, and all these little notes and strings of like who lives where, they work here, they know this person, they do that, and all of that kind of stuff, so that I was able to step back and look at all of these characters, all of these settings, all at the same time. And it just becomes this thing where, you know, if you can make a city that's vibrant and alive enough on its own, anybody can look at that and go, man, I've got a great idea for a story. You know what I mean?
Fuck yeah. Yeah. That way. I know exactly what you're saying. Because and I got to admit, I'm nowhere near your creation, because being a DM, you have your pantheons created basically, and but writing one module, you know, just writing one adventure for characters, and having that all out is, I mean, just,
well, I wish I could produce as fast as I could write it. You know what I mean? Like if
how many? We'll go ahead and go there. How many episodes do you have? How many episodes do you have written?
Oh, I try not to write them out too far in advance. I have episodes in my head where we're gonna go on the next several. But I usually don't write them more than about one, maybe two ahead, because things change. Things change during production. You get a different idea, or you change this and that. So a lot of times I'll end up scrapping stuff. Like, dude, I've fucking thrown away 3 episodes easily. You know what I mean? And you remake it and remake it and remake it. And yeah, that's adding to production time, but you want to make sure it's right, make sure it's good, make sure that continuity's there. When you're telling stories that are this complex, there has to be a pretty high level of accuracy for it to hold up.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Like,
People will call you out quick.
On the couch. You know?
Well, and you come from a wrestling background. So I'm thinking, in your mind, you're basically booking it down the road to where you can figure out where the blow off comes.
You got it. That's right. You know who your draws are, and you know who you can put them with. And again, you book stories similar to how you would book wrestling. So once all these characters and settings are alive, okay, where can we put these characters that would be interesting? How do we tell? Here's a story I want to tell. How do we facilitate that with these existing measures? It's not dissimilar from booking that type of event, and having worked in that so long, I think is definitely helpful in trying to write this type of format. You know what I mean?
Oh, completely, totally. And I think, and fuck all the people who don't like wrestling. I think wrestling is definitely a very nice starter for writers.
You can learn a lot.
Oh yeah, it's
wrestling.
yeah, it's the same
what
idea.
Yeah. People to go, hey, wrestling is fake. Yeah, it's on TV. Everything on TV is fake, dude. Chill out. Yeah, there's a little more to it than that.
Get the fuck off it. Yeah, yeah. Everybody wants to. That's yeah. I'm gonna get my tangent, but I'm not going to.
So yeah, let me steer back here because I really do want to hear about the capture software that that you use for your vocals.
Okay, so to further the where we were on process there. So you've got your kind of basic hardware setup, and here on my desk I've got a Rode mic arm that's holding the SM7B. That's what we record most of the dialogue. Now, in the past, the dialogue that you've heard so far in a lot of the episodes was done with some headset mics that I had. They're okay, and we do a fair amount of post-mixing to try to clean it up, but source signals aren't great on those. So we should see a big improvement in dialogue audio in upcoming episodes, hopefully. So after writing, and writing's a whole process onto itself. We can talk about that on another section or whatever if need be. So once that's done, basically I'll book the cast. Okay, so the cast will come in, we'll do a table read together, and at this point some of them have seen the script, particularly John, and then we'll come in and record. Everybody has to record separately. So what's interesting is, as live as the dialogue can seem, and this is what makes the writing difficult too, you need to write it very conversationally so that it is natural coming out of these people's mouths when they give the performance. But all of us record it separately. So all of the like conversations that Ghastly and AP have on the cartoon, that's all manufactured. We have to record everything independently just based on the nature of how it works. And at that time, when you record the dialogue, we also record the motion capture, which deals with most of your basic body movements and obviously how the mouth works and the eyes work. All of that you see in the cartoon is what we're actually doing in the studio at the time of the recording, provided the tracking is correct anyway. Movement animation is often handled in another stage. We take those... once we record those scripts, I'll then take those performances, dump those into Premiere, which is my primary tool. And the way it happens there is essentially I set these gigantic sequences. Like let's take the Ghastly's living room, for instance, a set that we use all the time. The purple couch, the fireplace with the Mal poster over it, the door to the lab, the stairs, hallway to the kitchen, all of that shit. Okay, so that set... the PSDs and pings and all of that fuel the set pieces that make that set come together, that's set up on a sequence in Premiere that's 10,000 wide by 4,000 tall, or maybe it's 12,000. I don't know. It's gigantic.
Jesus.
Right. So then basically I take the performances, and at that point it's playing dolls. Okay, right. So I take the characters and the dialogue and the timings, and I'm edit all of those timings in and edit those takes, get it all together where the audio is accurate, and move them around in the ways that they need to be moved within that. Nest all of that, and then essentially use a virtual camera to shoot that large set in the resolution of what you're going to see in the final, and that's where that shot direction comes from in the final product. So when you see something like two characters talking together, then it cuts to that close-up. It operates exactly the same way that you would do with live television. They're on a set and they're shot with multiple cameras.
And what's the facial capture software that you're using?
That is Adobe Character Animator, which I highly recommend, by the way. If you create video, it is absolutely worth every penny to get.
Is it a separate program?
If you get the full CC package, it comes with it.
If you get the full,
or if you get, I think you can get it with Production Premium.
But
If you want a smaller package, that should be Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, and Character Animator.
Well, and
so
if I remember correctly,
it's not
you've
Elements,
got
right? I mean, Elements is the base of Photoshop or of the right.
It's definitely a higher package. Like I have the, just told him give me the highest whatever you got. You know what I mean?
See, okay.
And if I remember, you do have an Adobe Angel sitting on your shoulder when it comes to that stuff.
That is correct. Actually, he's been a big help. Now, don't get me wrong. Dave Werner is only an expert in character animator.
All right, so go ahead and yell his name out. Dave Werner, right?
Dave Werner, that's right. By the way, if anybody out there that's looking to get into character animator, or if you guys are looking to learn about it, his YouTube channel, OK Samurai, is unbelievably helpful. He does
Is it just? I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. It's just OK with the AY.
AY, yeah, with AY.
Yeah. If somebody's got that link, make sure to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, check him out. Like he's the official tutorials from Adobe for character animator, and his stuff's awesome. He does great. But I got started talking to him when I first started with character animator because I have an Adobe CC account, so I was on the forums there, just looking at little small questions I had. Happened to notice him, being an admin on those forums, of course, and just kind of went to ask him a question, and he actually was. It was good because at that point I wasn't asking him a day one question. I actually asked him something. I don't even remember what it was. Something that interested him. This was around the time, by the way, if you guys remember, when Fright Supremacy got to 1,000, and we did that video where we're writing on the cake, did the Batman thing.
Oh yeah,
you guys remember that?
Oh yeah, hilarious.
Song cover, my terrible singing, all of that. This is around that time, and we're of a real close age demographic, so he gets a lot of the jokes that come up. He gets a lot of the references. Like at that time, I asked him something about Chrono Trigger because I was doing something on the gaming channel. He knew what I was talking about. Asked him something about Batman. And, he kind of got all the references, so he understood where the jokes were coming from. And just as far as technical help, he knows fucking everything about character animator. And we just got to talking, and we just bullshit on Twitter and stuff. And for those of you that haven't seen it, he has been on our show before. I believe that stream is on Fright Supremacy.
Yeah, that was a great stream.
I really had a good time, dude. He was so natural and funny, and I just thought he did a really killer job.
Did you put his name in the description, or I mean, if you were to look for it,
yeah,
if you would look for it,
most definitely. And he's on my follow list on Twitter. I think his Twitter handle is OK Samurai as well. Check him out, dude. Dave Warner's a solid. He doesn't have a lot of time to spare, but he puts the content out. He knows his shit, and he certainly has been helpful multiple times to me where things have gotten difficult with animation software. This being my first cartoon. You know what I mean?
I really think this has turned into a bunch of guys with broken glasses stream where we're sitting there talking about the stuff where it's like, this is what makes, and there's silly guys, you know what I mean? Where it's like talking about the inner workings of stuff. And so, yeah, Dave Warner, OK Samurai.
OK Samurai. Check him out on Twitter. He talks about character animator. Check him out on YouTube. It's solely about character animator.
This is awesome for me anyway.
Okay, so we're up to the point now where we know the kind of guns that you're using.
That's right.
When you sit down, you've got your voices, you've got your animation. What's your time as far as locking it all down and being able to produce a finished product?
From performance to render?
Yes.
Shit, easily 100 hours. Easily.
Wow.
Probably more like 2. Especially with these current episodes, that the effects are crazy intensive. And this, if you guys have seen 11, we have the Dragon Ball intro. The next one will be Dragon Ball as well.
Dude, I so hate Dragon Ball.
I hate Dragon Ball too.
But I was totally popping on that on that intro.
Yeah, I really don't watch Dragon Ball. I'm neutral to it. I just never watched it growing up. But a lot of the fans are into, and John's really into it as well. He was a big help with how this arc works, as far as like how Dragon Ball dialogue works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't realize when I was going into research for that episode that there's like 100 different intros for that show. Had no fucking idea that was the thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I didn't know that either.
He was able to point me in the right direction of what to my knowledge was the very first intro for that show, which is the one that we ripped off. By the way, those hand-drawn frames in that were done by Free Press. Big ups to Free Press. He did a hell of a fucking job on that, man.
Yeah, I think
He
we
also
should
did the Sherry shock frames, by the way.
Yeah, I think we should put some ones together in the chat for what Free Press has done too. He's done some amazing work.
Huge help, most definitely. That's what I'm talking about. All right, I'm sorry. I fucking sideswiped the question again.
No, you've been kicking ass, bro. I mean, seriously.
So from start to finish, you're talking about 200 hours?
Yeah, per episode, probably something like that, 200 hours.
Wow.
So
that's why it's often almost, the first few where it's mostly dialogue, don't get me wrong, those were much shorter. Now I was slower on this process at that time, but they were so much less intensive that overall it was still less time investment. That's when I was able to get one out like every other week for a while, but now that they've been taking about a month because, I can put 50 hours towards that per week. There's my 200 a month. Not to mention I put in, 20 hours a week on streams and another 20 hours a week on just the admin of running the business for this. So, and that's about right. My weeks are 80, 90 hours, maybe a little under that. 90 is pretty extreme.
So, yeah, I mean, initially what you were doing was you were just, you had a curtain up, you had them walk into the ring. Now you're adding the lights. Now you're adding the pyro.
Right.
Time is being spent.
Right. You're doing it more efficiently, and I am able to get through it more efficiently, and so is the cast for that matter. But it's so much more complex that the overall time is still much higher.
Okay, now I know I should probably get this question out of the way for you because you receive it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can do voices. Where do I sit?
Oh shit!
How many voices do you? Let's just do that. Let's not get into the. How many voices do you do currently on
me
the
personally?
Stream? Yeah.
I am Ghastly, Mayor EO, Walter Mondale, and Don Cannoli. I am definitely supporting voice cast. John McIntyre is a far stronger voice talent than me, so I absolutely want to put him in the forefront. He is easily half of the voices on the show.
I'll tell you what, this guy right here, Doc.
No, I was just trying to phrase the question so he could tell everybody to fuck off. We've got all we need.
Right.
Thank you very much.
No,
well, I'll give you an honest
answer. I'm gonna pitch you out there. Doc actually has it. I'm just a fucking goof. He's the guy. He's the guy that's fucking like saying, "Hey." Yeah, he's got something behind him. I'm just, he's
right.
He's got some. He really does have voices. I don't have them.
I believe it. And I'll give you honest answers to that because a lot of people do ask. And as far as people that I know through YouTube or Twitter are concerned, and many of you, I believe you that you have the voice talent. The issue is that whoever it is has to be local here because you have to be here to do motion capture. And just the way I work with table reads, and I'm very hands-on during recording. Okay, let's redo this line.
No, I couldn't imagine that. I couldn't imagine somebody that put together a whole mythos be very hands-on. Oh, heavens no.
So as much as some of the people that speak to me in that capacity, in all likelihood, are very talented. Unfortunately, it's not going to work to do it that way. Now, as far as the other side of that goes, the day that we did the face reveal and it became public to like the people on my personal Facebook and et cetera, that we were doing this deluge of, hey man, I've always wanted to get into voice acting. How do I blah, blah, blah. Hey, I went to school for fucking broadcasting. Can I be part of your voice cast? Hey, I just want to come over and hang out and use your cool software and setup to make cartoons, but not really work. Like just all these ridiculous things. And you try to answer these people diplomatically, even though they're clearly on a selfish tip about it, which is not unreasonable. It's not often that an animation opportunity comes across anybody's desk. I can totally understand the sentiment of being like, holy shit, how do I get in on this? And just knee-jerk reacting. So by no means am I shitting on these people for reacting that way. But you have to understand, in a situation like this where the workload is that size, for 90% of the people that come to me and go, man, I want to get in on this and help, they all want to help from the top down. They all want to take the cream off the top. Oh, I want to be an actor. Oh, I want to be a writer. Now, those are the good jobs that we like to do.
Oh, yeah.
How about you start operating some streams or running my merch store and crunching fucking numbers? You know what I mean? Go make me a cup of coffee and we'll talk. Like,
fuck
honestly,
yeah. Fuck yeah. Do the fucking work.
And honestly, can we just briefly gloss over the self-doxing?
Nah, come on, Doc. I actually had a question written. This is one of my questions, Doc. You're gonna take it from me. All right.
What about?
I'm actually gonna read it out. Read it out the way I wrote it.
Because you're one of the few content creators who have just said, you know what, you're not gonna have this over me. And
yeah,
I just wondered where your mindset was and how you made the jump.
The jump from where to where?
No, to where you said I'm going to be
yourself.
Well,
how we came on that decision?
Yeah.
Well,
to take it on your own hands.
Well,
to do it on your own.
There's multiple things there. Number one, I right from the outset and from day one, we were like, okay, over time, we need to find a way to reveal who we are, because we're doing more than just trying to make a YouTube channel. We'd like to be able to put our names on the product, particularly if we're going to try to make any kind of play for a larger platform. And this is overshooting it, but if Adult Swim tomorrow wanted to call, they can't call the ghost. They need to call fucking Justin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There needs to be able to be that line of professionality so that we're able to push this whole thing from another angle and treat it like what it is, which is a fucking business. So at the same time, now I will say, when we went with the self-docs, it was before we were planning to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. Was it like, we got something going and let's fucking let it show? Or it's oh shit, they're about to fucking hit us and fuck those motherfuckers.
It wasn't oh shit yet, but as you guys might imagine, I'm big on planning.
Oh no. Fuck no.
Yeah, surprise. So I and not just myself, but obviously with kind of my partner in crime on this whole thing, Johnny Mac, we both were feeling the heat. We both were feeling the heat from people that were taking issue and coming close to wanting to try to reveal information. And he got a little closer to the flame than I did. He unfortunately got his Twitter fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, he got a little more damage on that than I did, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But just in seeing that, we were like, man, we need to make a move to do this right. You know what I mean? So first of all, we've got to make sure we're far, far away from anything with the K word in it, because we don't want to talk to nobody named Matt, and we don't want to deal with the fucking how the state of that joke ended up going on the internet, man. We were just flexing some gags. We didn't know it was going to go like this. Like, we're going to move away from that. Okay, fine. No big deal. So in order to do all of it, we had to do that. That's part of the prep as well. Part of the prep as well is telling people that are close to you that you're doing this, because prior to that, nobody fucking knows. You know what I mean? I'm not talking to anybody about it. The only people that knew about Gulf City being a functioning project at all prior to the docs in my real life were the people that worked on it. I didn't tell anybody. Now, again, we're getting close to that point. So part of the important part is telling people in your life, people that are potentially vulnerable, you want them to be aware. And we want them to be aware that they need to call you should something happen, because you have the highest likelihood of being able to help them.
Yeah, because when Worski went ahead and doxed himself, I mean, he gave out his name willingly, but as far as it goes, he kind of it seems like he kind of passively told the rest of his family, and then he just started raging when people were passing out, information about his family.
Well, and that's something to remember too, is that if you're going to go out on a limb and put your name on stuff, you need to be prepared for any potential consequences that come from that. Not that I'm suggesting anybody, I don't care what people say or do. I'm totally against.
Yeah, Worski was like one of the weakest examples. I mean, nobody's going to go after his family. You know what I mean? He's really, as far as it goes, he has never taken
well, luckily,
a super
even with my
hardcore
real
side.
Name, I'll tell you this, even with my real name, you ain't fucking finding me. My last name is Smith, motherfucker. There's 8 pages of me in the phone book in this city alone.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I mean, yeah.
But, you know, that aside, you know, you want to make sure that all those things are set in place. You want to make sure to do the little things like put my personal Facebook on private and, you know, shit like that just like ain't necessarily some ne'er-do-well's business. You know, because it's got photos and stuff of people that I care about that are in my life that have nothing to do with this, that don't need any kind of backlash. So you want to pull that stuff away. And then just as it came down and it was getting closer and it looked like it was to the point where like fans were sending us copies of our doxes that people were getting ready to disseminate. It was very much that, hey, look what I've got.
Yeah, just to be,
I
hate that shit.
That person goes, hey, man, so-and-so just showed me this. Is this you? I'm like, oh, fuck.
No, a lot of swinging dicks.
Yeah, it's fucking, yeah.
Exactly. A bunch of fucking bitch-made bullshit.
Yeah, back, I don't know. Yeah, you fuck.
So, you know, we see all that,
fist.
and the last thing I want for myself or for AP is for either of us to get stuck in a gotcha moment on a fucking stream. Oh my God, I'd be pissed. You know what I'm saying? True. Like I would hate for it to come out that way. So we said, okay, let's get ahead of it. Let's preemptive strike. And we did it, and it went way better than expected. I was very surprised. And in doing it was kind of I think we might have even been in the same week that we did the stream with Dave Warner to dox how the fucking sausage is made. Because that was the #1 question for such a long time. Because in the beginning, dude, we wouldn't break for nothing. I wouldn't break for shit, even off airs. It was just straight ghost stuff. I wouldn't tell anybody anything. Answered everything with, what are you talking about? I'm a real ghost. We acted like we weren't animated. There are no fucking cells. There is no software. I'm a real ghost, and I'm on camera. We did that for probably 6 months.
That's fucking awesome.
It was. I enjoyed it, but you know.
Well, and here's the amazing part. The moment you guys did the face reveal, I didn't see a single person who didn't say, yeah, we got you on this.
And that was, you know, and that was a big part of it too. I was apprehensive to an extent right before we were getting ready to do that, you know, just in case of negative reception. And by the way, neither one of us was winning no fucking beauty pageants. We look like a ghost and a frog in real life too. So, you know, it could go any number of ways. But dude, the fans were, again, just amazing as always. And they were really super supportive about it. And we didn't have any problems associated with it. Again, we got ahead of any potential bullets that might have been coming our way. And it cleared up a lot of problems, a lot of issues that made things easier for us within the viewing community for that to be out there. Because now we were able to get away from, and here's the problem. It became fucking Gene Wilder. You know, when you're known as the best gun in the West, everybody you meet wants to fucking test you on a shootout. Okay, well, when you never, ever, ever break character and nobody's ever able to stump you with ghost questions and no one's ever able to get you to trip up on anything, breathing, shitting, heartbeat, any of that living person stuff, everybody starts testing you. And that's where it got to on streams, is that everybody was just trying to catch me or John.
That's
where, hey, hold on, Doc.
They never did.
I want to, because that's where Tonka's at right now. You got to admit that. That's where Tonka's at right now. Tonka, I love him. That's where he's at right now, because where every fucking Joe Schmo is sitting there calling him out, fucking trying to fucking, now he's having to put prices on it. It's like, and that's what
he gets a lot of unnecessary heat.
It just, you know what I mean? It's the same idea.
A moral step back, regardless of how you feel about the content or what the guests on that show might say or do. If you take a step back from how you might morally feel about any of that, and just look at the format of the show and what it actually does and how it actually works, that's a smart motherfucking business move.
Oh, it's great. It's funny that the same idea. You know, it's where it's like guys are sitting there trying to dox you, and they're like, "Hi, I got this." And that's what they're doing with Tonka right now. It's like, well, we have your docs, which is neither here nor there, but it's to the point where it's like, guys just fucking calling in from Discord or saying, "Yeah, I'll fight you."
You know, but
I'll fight you. You know what I mean?
man?
It's so silly. You know what I mean? They're just
Even
it's the same
character,
it's
I'll
the
say
same
that-
idea to where it's like Tonka's got to like take it out of character and say, dude, kick the fuck out of here.
Sure.
Come on now.
Well, I'll tell you, even out of character, these are tactics of people with very little to offer in real life. No legitimate confidence or internal strength that could carry them through anything negative. To want to enact a tactic like that, in my mind, you have got to be out of options. And if they're starting out of options, then what kind of strength could they really possess? Hell, everybody out there knows what I look like in real person. You're welcome to say whatever you fucking need to say. You know, I really don't care.
There's another fucking diamond right there. Another diamond right there. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's all this stream is just a bunch of fucking diamonds.
Boom. You can clip me up and put me on one of them clip channels. I don't give a damn.
That's a fucking diamond right there.
Oh yeah, and I tell you what, when it comes to it, really, if you're enjoying the content, it's really nobody's fucking business who you are, as long as you're supplying what the people want. I can say right up front that Golf City from day one, even though we're not talking about the K word, but it goes all the way back to that.
Sure. That certainly was part of the budding of the full scale project. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
But it's all quality. That's the thing. I mean, there's so many people. I'm not going to mention any mundane people, but they just keep putting out content that is just vapid. It's hollow. It's not entertaining.
Right.
And I mean, it's something that, you know, even the most desperate person couldn't fap to.
Can I tell you something totally out of all kayfabe? You know what I mean? Here's the reality of this shit. There's a lot of motherfuckers out there that love to consider themselves edgy comedians. They won't say, "I took it too far."
Yeah, apparently something happened.
YouTube, shut your ass down.
Oh no, we're streamers resuming.
I took it too far.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but yeah. To summarize what you were saying is, motherfuckers don't have chins no more. That's what it comes down to. They don't have no chin no more.
This common fodder, it just isn't edgy. If everybody's doing it, how could it possibly be edgy?
Yeah,
is that even what you need to be striving for? It's just this kind of piss poor definition that people put on stuff that gets played so fucking quickly, and it's not original and it's not creative, and it ceases to be funny really fast. You can find ways to twist that stuff up and get some extra life out of it, but Jesus Christ, I'm tired of these kind of older definitions of what edgy would be, or even needing to use that word to describe comedy. I think comedy by nature has to be on the edge to some degree. Otherwise, it ceases to be funny. It has to kind of upset the norms. It has to kind of set aside what it has to eschew, if you will, the kind of preset neutral states that people want to be in or are in when they absorb media or just in kind of their normal lives and thoughts. You take that and what that perception is and force it to be uncomfortable almost in a way. And I'm certainly not a purveyor of like loving the awkward joke setup that's so popular
it's fucking
now, but just that uncomfortability and pushing them away from what their norm is, finding something that will offend somebody else potentially, not necessarily them. That's honing in instead of pandering. What you don't want to do now, and before I say this, don't get me wrong, there's validity to mass appeal. You want some level of mass appeal so that at least your comedy is tangible to people. I mean, I could write Golf City more complex where it's just about what I know, but then nobody would know what the fuck I was talking about.
Yeah, you have to appeal to the masses a little bit. Yep.
Sure, but at the same time, you don't want to just pander the crowd. Like, dude, okay, if for instance, Golf City episodes were all about woo fucking Trump train, anti-SJW, red pill this, and fucking we love this show and hate this show, and let's watch Tucker Carlson. Like, that's not edgy. That's not new. That's not original. it's not about right or wrong. When you're trying to create comedy, it doesn't matter really what's true and what's not, or what's right or what's wrong, or what you agree with or what you don't. That's not the point of what you're trying to do, you know. So you're able to create a little bit more. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know what? You know exactly what you're pitching. It has nothing to do with comedy. It has everything to do with everything. Is sometimes you just have to fucking do it. You have to hang out, and that, you know, that's the whole chin thing. You got to hang out your chin and hope it fucking works out. You know, you got to fucking hang out your balls. You got to put your balls out.
Ghastly calling out Sinatra. He got it. It's just a joke. He got the joke. I love Sinatra. Sinatra's my boy, man. But I did. That was a little jab.
You mean Sinatra?
I love that Sinatra.
Yeah.
Well, and literally, you can break it down to something as simple as you have a general category of sports fans, but there are people who like basketball. There are people who like football. There are people who like hockey.
Right.
There are people who like bocce ball.
Right.
And literally, you're writing for a genre saying, hey, you know, this is what we're doing. Check us out. If you like us, you know, jump in the back seat and we'll continue the ride. Your comedy is not going to be for everybody. But then again, there is no comedian out there right now that is like
You're
that.
right on the right track. And there is no comedy that can be for literally everybody, or it wouldn't be funny. It wouldn't be funny. You know what I mean? There's somebody out there who has a problem with anything that you might find funny, even down to the simplest things. People think fart jokes are funny. Some people don't. There's nothing that is completely ubiquitous as being funny to everyone, particularly in this goddamn post-joke America we're stuck dealing with right now. You know what I mean?
Well, I live in a ghetto, and I'm sure that the food stamp jokes I get, that somebody who's living in a Hollywood mansion is definitely not going to understand. So I think you've done a good job of not just, in the words of a certain mundane person, just pulling the trigger, firing the shotgun, and scattering your shot.
Right.
You're focused. You know what stories that you want to tell, and there are people, and I don't know what your metrics are. I haven't checked your social blade, but it just seems like
it's not good, I'm sure.
Well, no, but it seems like that it's not a deluge, but they're trickling in one by one.
I will give it that it's steady. It's because all of our growth is fucking grassroots. You know what I mean? We don't come up on no recommended pages. I don't just get random fucking people that show up. That's rare. And it really only happens on the gaming channel because there's some complete other set of meta to draw people in potentially. As far as the main channels go, though, it's almost all word of mouth.
Now, it was AP for me. AP, what was that fucking Planet? I mean, am I wrong? It was AP Clan of Dusty.
Clan of Dusty. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that was. I've showed that to so many of my friends, man. It was so fucking funny. I'll never. I mean, that's one of the funniest fucking Clan of Dusty, and then whatever, the Amazing Atheist. I don't know who was playing that person, but
his new one is Late Night JF. It's fucking great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Stream?
Yeah,
you gotta check out the Blunt stream.
The Blunt stream. All right.
On Gold City Streaming.
Well, see, I work a lot of hours, brother. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but
sure,
I really do. So, like, I try to catch I catch the Kumite during work because I can just put it on Bluetooth. I put it on in my work. You know, you can have a speaker, so I just put it on Bluetooth and just fucking play the Kumite. So I catch, you know, like during work, you know, it's while I'm working, so I'm not 100% into it, but you know what I mean?
Sisyphus, the bloody channel hasn't been struck down yet. Just go watch the rebroadcast.
I'm too old, duck. I fucking don't know how to click the channel. Nah, I'm just too lazy, to tell the truth.
Brother, I am so old I thought dust. But I do want to make sure that before we round this out and end it, if there are any questions from the chat that's been hanging around, and we certainly appreciate it.
Sure. Or you can take a call or whatever.
That's why I actually sent a thing to Rizzo. He's supposedly one of your biggest fans. He's been hitting me up. He's the one that had the fright no question. I sent it to him. If he hops in,
Justin, run. It's a single white female. Run.
But usually, here's the other thing, and that's why he's telling you to run, because what did so well last week is we did karaoke.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll let you pick the song. You down to do karaoke, Justin?
I don't know. I don't know if I can sing out of character.
No, you can. We'll go ahead and do you Ghastly. We can do karaoke with Ghastly if you want.
No, this is supposed to be a Ghastly free episode.
Oh, fuck. Never mind. Nah, fuck that. Come on, Justin.
This is about the man, not the myth.
We'll have to do it again sometime with Ghastly. And
okay. All right. So I got another show booked. Fuck yeah.
Show.
I don't got another show booked right there.
There you go.
Oh, shit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well,
invest in your future, sis. Damn.
Well, you know, the first question so far is Brad Young saying, Cheech?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
you can find cheaper pussy. Fuck it.
We got fat pussy, skinny pussy.
That's right. Apple pie pussy.
So, I don't know if there's any type of message that you want to spread, because I tell you what, the information, the knowledge bombs that you have dropped have taken out both Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But I definitely, I mean, is there some type of message that you want to pass along to the peoples about, you know, basically that kernel of truth, that kernel of knowledge that you've learned getting to where you are right now?
I could give you two things on that. You know what? One of them I won't even, because I did I gave you the you know, my basic logic behind how to get from A to B is you have to want it the most. You have to be willing to work the hardest. And all of that is still true. You have to. That's, at this day and age, being the best is the bare minimum if you want any chance of success, because there's so many people contending for so few things.
Preach it.
Being the best is the bare fucking minimum. So if you want to have any level of success in anything creative or entertainment based, you have to be willing to put that work in. What you want? You want to end up like fucking Cash Me Outside girl? Nah, yeah, she's got a lot of money today. Show me the VH1 behind the music in 20 years. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to hear all that. There's gonna be bad news bears for her, man.
Nah, she's not bad news bears. Bad news bears end up winning at the end.
Well, we actually do have questions starting to come in.
Sure. I'll give you the other half of that coin too, man.
Yeah. Let's do this
creating. As far as creating goes, man, here's the number one thing to remember. And people ask me all kind of questions about where my real beliefs or real politics and all of these things lie. And I think if you listen closely, all of the answers are actually there. But the reality of it, guys, if you learn anything from me, is that all that shit out there is a joke. It's all fucking comedy already. And you know how you can tell? Because if you twist it just a little bit, it's already hilarious. If you replace the black people in the hood with white hipsters, it's already hilarious. If you replace Nazis with ghosts, it's already hilarious. Dude, so all these situations in real life that you're letting get you down because it seems like such serious, heavy gravitas in real life, recognize that it's adjacent to comedy already. I'd say that's the message of what Gulf City is.
Fuck yeah. All right, Doc. I'm going to do some karaoke. I want you to put on...
Well, hold on just a sec.
Hold on.
We still have a couple questions out there.
Oh, we got questions.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a message because I have to put this song because it's so appropriate.
We have Aircraft Sparky asking, is there any outside art you work with?
You cut out. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Okay, I'll do it my Price is Right voice. Is there any outside artist that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. And this has only been fairly recent developments. You guys know I've been working with Free Press for a while. The lead artist there, Ash, is a big help. He is definitely an art contributor to Gulf City. He did the hand frames for the Dragon Ball Z intro. He did the Sherry Shock frames. He the new style of characters. And here's another little inside part on how the stuff gets done. Dude, he's good. I draw it with pencil. I scan it. I send it to him on Skype. And then I get back 300-400 layers, and I just fucking work that shit into a character, man. It works out real nice. So that newest art style, like the way the cop looks and the way Mina looks now and all of that, that's a lot of that's coming from him. So he's becoming a bigger and bigger contributor to being able to realistically help me with the parts that I really fucking need. I mean, I can create characters and write stories a hell of a lot faster than I can go through all this crazy hundreds of fucking layers of Photoshop and shit. And he's swift with the tablet too. You know what I mean? I am not. I'm left-handed. Everything's fucking backwards with how they sell hardware to fucking people.
Whoop, whoop, I mean? Left-handers.
So you're saying you're evil then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Justin. Well, we've got a question from Tissman.
Hold on, I got to put over one more guy real quick.
Okay, cool.
There's also a brand new contributor. He did one single frame drawing that's going to be for the next episode of Gulf City. And you'll know it when you see it, guys. This single frame is fucking landmine. He did so goddamn good, and that's my boy Rad Elf. I don't know if he's still out there in the chat. I think I saw him scroll by earlier.
Was it the Twitter giveaway?
Rad Elf.
Was it the Twitter giveaway?
No, it's nothing that's been out yet. It's
okay, awesome. Okay.
Oh yeah, I put some heat on Rad Elf because of his talent.
He did outstanding work. He really did. So make sure to follow that cat on Twitter. Yeah,
on Rad Elf on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has a YouTube channel. I don't know for sure. I follow him on Twitter. His work's great. He does.
Yeah, not yet. He hasn't done any drawing comparisons like Rob at Optic. But,
right.
But I've been kind of needling him to do that. Because I'm an asshole and I always work from the shadows because I am ninja. Oh wait, sorry, I am ninja.
There you go.
Because I do not want anyone to have a shameful display. This man asks, and you know this one's coming, right?
Where is my white ghastly
the white hats? The white hats. Takes a little time, man. I'm looking into it. Hopefully, the hat situation actually has not been stellar recently, so I may be looking to make a change so there's more availability there within the next couple of days, if at all possible. But well, I remember that he asked. I'm looking out for you, man.
Well, let's just say that, you know, once I'm able to give blood again, once they allow me to do the plasma run, that I'm going to be dropping some ducats on Gulf City gear.
Blood money. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because, I mean, you wouldn't respect it any other way, right?
Word. I got no problem with war profiteering.
Wait a minute. Did you throw me a link as far as the karaoke goes?
I did.
You white people scare me. No. Are you talking about doing the "To all the girls I've loved before"? That guy? Have I lost you?
I don't know.
I'm here.
Jesus,
I'm a boomer. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
You're the kind of guy who would suck a dick and not give the courtesy of a reach around.
Nah.
5'9". I didn't know they stack shit that tall.
That's fucking Full Metal Jacket. Took me a second.
Actually, that was just me growing up.
Oh. All right. So.
Okay. So, what have you got here, Sisyphus? You have the steering wheel.
Yep. I want you to. You're my karaoke guy. I sent you a Twitter.
You sent me the Twitter.
I sent you a Twitter with the song. The song for karaoke.
You didn't send me the link that you would be using.
No, of course not. I sent you the actual name of the song because you're the guy that's supposed to bring up the karaoke.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. All right, hold on. But can I just go ahead and pimp out? At this point, everything that Justin has provided with us has been brilliant.
Oh, fucking gold. And I'm about to shit all over it.
I'm just, I mean, I will be forthright. Just the fact that you've taken the time instead of, fuck off, I've got things to do, that you've been able to share the aspects of what you've been doing to make yourself successful. And I'll call it a success because
most certainly. Fucking.
I mean, you don't have a bajillion followers, but
that is true. I do not have 1 bajillion. That is not.
But
you're not worrying about electricity. Are you worrying about electricity?
I mean, I wouldn't say worried. I just keep a tight eye on stuff. I invest most of my money into my business.
But you know what I mean? I mean, you're not sitting there fucking hitting pigeons on the head, pigeons on the head for fucking $1,000.
No, we're making it. We're making it. We're trying.
But support them.
But here's the thing, you've got a soccer following. I mean, they're loud, they're rowdy, they're faithful.
God, can you guys imagine doing a live show, like live with all these motherfuckers in a fucking stadium, all these whale gang cats all in the same fucking place?
Fuck yeah.
That'd be the dopest fucking shit ever, man.
Start Hard Rock Las Vegas and I'll make the effort to show up.
Word. Vegas is I don't disagree with that town.
Well, yeah, because eventually we're going to find failure passed out there somewhere.
There you go.
And I think a lot of the people that gravitate towards you are the kind of people who aren't looking for a political agenda, but are okay with the political message. Because
I think it's okay to recognize that politics is certainly part of our lives and important to things that happen and create social fucking events that carry on for years. So it's not irrational to at least keep half an eye on it. But my job is not to tell you guys which fucking person to vote for or whatever. I go where the funny is, man.
Exactly. You hold up the mirror. Let them see what they want to see.
Right, exactly. And I think that's part of what can be really great about good writing. Not that I'm trying to say all of my writing is good, but you try to strive to a point where the best written stuff is shit that forces whoever's looking at it to interpret it their way. And people get different interpretations of it because it's well written enough that it forces that additional analysis onto people. And I think that is a part of what can make a canon, if you will, stick with somebody. Think about, for instance, one of my favorite movies is 12 Monkeys. I don't know if you've ever seen 12 Monkeys.
Oh my goodness. No,
what's amazing about that movie?
I'm double older than you. Yes, I see that.
It's
what's
fucking
amazing
awesome
about that movie is, and the performances are great, and I love Bruce Willis as it is, and all that. But that's beside the point.
Brad Pitt.
The writing is so fucking amazing because there is little to no wasted dialogue. When you watch it enough times, which I did in high school.
Shit.
You start to recognize that literally every line that comes out of everybody's mouth has some kind of bearing on something that happens later. All of it is so well tied that when you get to the end and Bruce Willis gets shot in the airport, by the time you get to there and it brings it full circle, it forces you to think back on the things that happened there in order to get a better analysis of what it is you're looking at. You can't just take it at face value. There's too much to see. It makes your brain think about it further. It makes you want to look at it again. It makes you talk about it and think about it to try to decipher something that allows you to have a more complex thought based on the media that you absorb. And I think we've gotten to a point where people don't allow media to move them anymore because there is no media good enough to be moved by. You know what I mean? Songs should be able to make you go apeshit if need be, or cry if they need to. Movies should be able to make you feel a giant amount of emotions. The shit we get is so fucking vapid and shitty. It's not just that it doesn't happen. It's that people have turned their backs on their ability to truly enjoy the things that they're looking at. It's all just the hits. They're looking for the one-liners. They're fast-forwarding through shit. They don't really take the time with it. They're not trying to let themselves out of their brain to experience it on a bigger level. And why? Because there's no stories big enough to give a shit about it on that level. So what do you do in that scenario? You create something so big and has such big potential for complexity, and you still leave it at a point where it's not based on ambiguity, but instead it's based on allowing room for interpretation by the audience. And I think that's where you find your best stories.
And I'd just like to apologize to the audience for not giving spoiler warnings to 12 Monkeys. Just shut up and watch the movie.
Right, yeah.
Watch it a million fucking times. Gulp. That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
When he eats the fucking spider.
It doesn't matter. Terry Gilliam, on whatever substance that you wish to take, makes very entertaining movies.
That's a reasonable assertion.
And I have no freaking idea what this song is. And Julio Iglesias scares me.
Hmm.
It turns my Audi into an innie. But I mean,
I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do an outro before we do the before we do the song. The song's the actual outro, of course.
Yeah, do the outro before we do the outro.
But I do want to do this one question before we go to it. Forgiven Destiny asks if you can please slap AP for me.
Oh, anytime.
Now, wait a minute. We need to figure out, is it just a regular slap or is it a bitch slap?
It's got to be on stream, right?
Slap.
On stream.
That's a regular slap. He's not a bitch. Just
On
a regular
stream.
slap. Sure, why not?
And let's go ahead and take the
Now,
time.
hold on. You can't hold me to that. I don't want to slap my face.
I know. I ain't gonna hold you to that.
But that's what friends are for. But I would like to give my personal thanks for Justin Smith to stopping out. It's been a wonderful stream. We've got a lot of wonderful people that followed along and got wrenched for their troubles. We certainly have the door open. Anytime, whether yourself or an alter ego wants to stop in, please feel free and do so. But we are all enriched by the conversation that we've had this evening.
Sure.
And do not take my love for what you've said in this song as offensive.
All
right,
What,
Doc.
Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready to do it.
All right.
It's falsetto.
I got it turned up. I hope you got it turned up on your end. I have no idea what this song is.
It's not working the way I want it to.
Would you dance if I ask you to dance? Would you run and never look
Where
back?
did you come up with this?
Would you cry if you saw me crying? And would you sing
tremble?
my soul
Tonight.
Tremble if I touched your lips. Would you laugh? Oh, please tell me this.
You know, I've been on some weird shows
Now
before.
would you
Now would
die
I
This takes
for
the
the
cake.
one you
you
love?
I'm confused by everything I'm seeing right
Hold
now.
me in your arms
Just gonna smoke this bowl here.
tonight. I'm gonna do some Hulkster.
Can I be your hero, Ghastly?
I can kiss away
Can
the pain,
I
brother.
kiss away the pain?
I will stand by you forever. You can take
You
away
can
my
take
breath.
my breath away. All right, I'm done with that. That's
There
pretty.
it
That's
is,
just,
man.
that's just horrifying. That's just
It
fucking
really was,
horrifying.
but it was a try. You love us?
You know, I was going to go into Bullwinkle after that.
I was trying.
Hey, have you ever told me you were my hero?
Gentlemen, your stream has gone off the rails.
We're 20 minutes past, so
Hey.
what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say thank you so much to Justin Smith, otherwise known as fucking Ghastly, the motherfucking man. Follow him on Ghastly Dope. And make sure to follow Doc Griffin at Doc Griffin on Twitter. And,
buy that gear. Buy that gear, Gulf City. Buy that gear, Gulf City.
Buy the gear, golf-citygear.com. I put it in the chat. Make sure to look at Golf Griffin's Teespring store. And you know what? Try to find my docs, motherfuckers. Bye.
You know, AP ain't here, so we gotta pimp the swag.
This is the part where I say fry power.
Fry power.
Yeah. Motherfucker.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop it.
All right, double fried power, man. Ollie, I'll make sure to hail the motherfucking whale out there, by the way. That's what I'm talking about.
Krill be unto his name.
And Krill be unto you guys. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. Did I say that on air? I wanted to make sure to say it well.
Yeah, we're still on, dude. You're fucking.
All right, good deal. Guys, most appreciated. For real, I appreciate. I know we've talked about it a little bit recently, but kind of trying to give the ability to split off and do streams with character and streams without, so that Ghastly doesn't ever have to talk about this stuff.
This was kill the goddamn stream. Kill the motherfucking stream.
And so getting an opportunity to kind of try that out. This is the first one I've done like this, so I appreciate it, guys. But yeah, I mean, I did like 20 minutes on the blunt stream last night. I can't lie. I can't lie, man.
That's what we're about, though. Is we want creators, and we want to not necessarily talk about their creation, but talk about how they got to that creation. That's what we're about. That's what this show is about. That's what Rolling Sisyphus is about. Is just talking to creators about what they're fucking doing. And if it's the creation is what they want to talk about doing, then that's fine. If they want to talk about fucking banging hookers and doing blow, that's cool too. I mean, that's what Rolling with Sisyphus is about.
Is it okay if we talk about banging midgets?
Yeah, I don't mind. It go all the way to the spectrum.
I'm all right with that. You know, that's one of the check marks that I have not marked off on my perversity list.
But all right, Doc, go ahead and sign us out. Give it to us.
Thank you very much for stopping by Rolling with Sisyphus with your host, Sisyphus, our guest today, Justin Smith. And of course, I'm Doc Griffin. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday.